It began not with a roar, but a whisper carried by the wind, over ancient treetops, through dense canopies, and across the silent earth. The jungle, breathing slowly, awaited the arrival of something or someone. In the dim light of dawn, beneath the shade of an old fig tree, a mother lay still, her breathing heavy, her eyes alert, her body aching from the trial of birth. And from within her warmth emerged life, small, trembling, blind, cub, not yet a king, but destined to be one. He clung to her, his fur wet, his heart unsure. But her heartbeat was strong, steady, a rhythm of reassurance that whispered, "You are not alone." She licked him clean, gently, slowly, introducing him to this harsh, magnificent world. The soil beneath was still damp with the scent of night. The leaves above shimmered with the breath of morning dew. And he, so fragile, so unaware, nestled into the world without knowing what waited beyond the safety of her fur. The jungle was no nursery. It was a crucible. And so she taught him, not through words but through instincts, through gazes, through the subtle language of survival. His first steps were awkward, his legs unsteady. He stumbled over roots, slipped on damp leaves. But she watched with patient eyes, never lifting him, only letting him fall. Because in the jungle you must learn pain early, or not live long enough to forget it. Each day she brought him closer to the world, closer to the smells of prey, the rustle of danger, the meaning of silence, the significance of shadows. She would pause when the wind changed. She would crouch when the birds suddenly took flight. He watched her every move, her stillness, her breath, the way her ears twitched before anything else did. And slowly, he began to understand. But childhood is short in the wild. Too short. He remembered her warmth, her protection, her silence, until one day, that silence turned cold. She was gone. Not in battle, not in glory, just gone. The jungle does not always offer closure. Sometimes it simply takes. He searched for her with cries that no one answered. He sniffed the trails, circled the dens. Every scent, every whisper of wind, he hoped would carry her back. But all it brought was absence. And in that absence, something shifted. The cub, still too small to fight, too young to lead, too innocent to understand cruelty, began to change. He stopped calling. He stopped waiting. He began listening. To the trees, to the winds, to the silence. He became part of it. Each night he curled under leaves alone. No warmth but his own. Every noise was a threat. Every morning was earned, not granted. Hunger became a companion, fear a constant shadow. And yet he endured. He learned to stay still for hours, to move with the wind, not against it, to know which plants whispered safety, and which meant danger. He learned the difference between the rustle of a lizard and the shift of a stalking predator. And with time he grew. His limbs stretched. His paws thickened. His chest rose broader. But more than his body, his mind changed. He no longer waited for safety. He became it. His first hunt was chaos. He missed. He was injured. He bled. But he remembered. Every mistake etched itself into his bones like scripture. And in the jungle, failure is the greatest teacher. The second hunt was cleaner. The third more efficient. He began to run, not with panic but with purpose. He no longer feared the sounds of the night. He became part of them. Years passed. And now, the jungle moved around him. When he walked, the birds didn't sing. When he drank, the river quieted. When he roared, it wasn't a sound. It was a storm. But rule doesn't come with age. comes with blood. Other males had risen, strong, hungry. They smelled weakness like smoke. And so they came, one by one, testing him, circling, daring. And he fought, not just with claws but with memory. With every wound his mother had licked. With every night he slept in fear. With every loss, every ache, every growl he had swallowed. He fought not as a lion, but as a legend in the making. Some days he won. Some days he limped away. But every scar made him more than flesh, made him myth. He earned his territory not through violence alone, but through presence. His scent clung to trees like sacred fire. His tracks in the mud were warnings. His breath echoed in the dens of enemies. He was not just a king. He was the jungle's law. But kings cannot rest. The rains brought new challengers. The drought brought desperation. The fires brought fear. And then came man. They came with noise, with fire, with steel. They did not understand the jungle. They understood ownership. And in their eyes he was not a soul, not a spirit, just a prize. They burned his trees, poisoned his rivers, hunted his prey. And then they came for him. He did not hide. He stood on the tallest rock in plain sight. They surrounded him. Smoke stung his eyes. Bullets echoed through the leaves. But his roar rose higher, not in pain, not in panic, but in defiance. It was a sound that cracked through centuries, that tore through the roots of the jungle and reached the skies. A sound that said, "You may kill me, but you will never forget me." And then, as the final shot rang through the trees, his body fell, not in fear, not in defeat, but like a monument returning to the earth. The jungle went quiet. No songbirds, no footsteps, just wind. Even the trees seemed to bow. He was gone but not lost. Because every cub that survives the night, every paw that learns to strike, every breath taken in defiance of fear, carries his echo. He was never just a lion. He was the beginning. He was the battle. He was the legend. And legends do not die. They become the heartbeat of the wild, the voice in the wind, the shadow in every forest. He is still there,